together. Thank you, Jesus, for another day. It is indeed a blessing to be alive, y'all. Yes, it is. Thank Him. Thank Him for another day. And I just pray that wherever you are or whatever your plans are today, that you are enjoying this day that the Lord allowed us to be in and live in, and just help somebody. God will allow someone to help you as well. So yeah, we just out and about today. Got a late start today. I always think in my mind on Friday, I'm gonna get up early and I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. But again, the Lord continues to remind me, okay, just rest. This is a day you can just rest. You don't have to hustle and bustle on this day, like how we do Monday through Friday at work and stuff. So I'm thankful for that. I am. So I really look forward to Saturdays more than I think I appreciate them more than what I used to back some years ago, because it seems like back in Tennessee seems like that was sort of I don't know, it wasn't a busy day. It was a rest day then, but it was more so we found something to do. Me and my late husband, it was just riding around or whatever. So it wasn't really just sometimes sitting in the house, but mostly it was. But that's what a lot of people didn't understand. They were like, y'all don't do nothing. I'm like, yeah, we don't want to do nothing. So that's why some things just never change. I like to go, but if I'm not necessarily I don't have a place to go or need to go to that place, I'm like, I'm good, because if I got some food to eat and I got a place to live and something good to watch on TV, I'm good. It don't take a whole lot for me, but because it's we got to learn how to be content. But it's nothing wrong with going somewhere or doing something, but that's what they always would get on us about back in Tennessee, because they seemed like they were always doing something. Even my parents, his parents, whoever, even people I work with, they would always say, what you doing? Because there was a lady who I used to work with in Tennessee, and she always did a poll on either Thursday or Friday. She was nosy. She was not, that's what I'm gonna be put it out there. She was just nosy, and she she was single then, and she had children, but she had grown children, and she had a little one. But she just wanted to know, what everybody was doing. So she just worked that room. What are you doing for this weekend? And then, cause see, a lot of them, most of the people that I work with, most of them were single. Cause at that time I was married, but it didn't ever make me feel no type of way, because I'm like, I'm just gonna be honest, we ain't doing nothing. Saturday we're gonna rest, because they had gotten on my nerves so much Monday through Friday, and I'm like, I was battling all type of evil spirits. So I'm like, I'm tired. I'm gonna rest from y'all so I can be ready for war on Monday. Back again for war on Monday. So spiritual war. So but she would ask me, and I said, yeah, we're not doing nothing. We're gonna lay around and rest, and I'm gonna enjoy my family, because the kids were younger then. And I said, we're gonna go to church Sunday. And so, what I had to say didn't sound real appealing to her. She was like, oh, yeah. I could see it in her face, like, oh, you ain't doing that. You ain't doing nothing, which was fine. That's fine. But there's no reason for me to lie and act like I was doing something if I was not. Now, there were quite a few Saturdays, we were invited to, I was invited to like a baby shower or something like that. Seemed like it was never a bridal shower. It was always like a baby shower. So it was something, and then sometimes it was something going on at the church we attended. So, some Saturdays I actually had a full day or something to do. And then I'll close it out with going to my parents' house or something like that. So, it fulfilled that day. But anyway, going back to her, so she would ask them in the office, and, a lot of them, some of them would say, there was another lady, me and her seemed like we were sort of similar in how we felt about, things. And so she was she was recent. She was divorced, and her kids were at that time. Her kids were I think she had one grown child, one adult child, and then the other ones were younger, or the other one, I can't remember how many she had in all. But she sort of was like a homebody too, and so she'd be like, we're not doing anything, you know. And she always was more family oriented, so she would always be going over her in-laws' house or something like that. You know, she would just say voice about that, but you know, she didn't have anything going on. But then there were a few other ones in the, you know, you could tell they were just, well, we're gonna go drinking, or we're gonna go doing this, we're gonna go doing it, you know, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that. And like I said, I'm not judged. I wasn't, well, at the time then I was judging, because I was like, you know, where is God in all of this, you know? But again, at that particular time, I did not have a relationship with Jesus, so you know, who was I to? I didn't even recognize what I was doing. So how could I, you know, recognize what they were not doing? But yeah, she just had to know. That made her day, to know what everybody was doing. And then she did follow up, y'all. She would on Monday around, you know, most of the time be first thing Monday. She would you know, sort of like to see if you were, you know, I guess to see if you were lying, you lied to her. Did you go to the, and she would remember everything that, you know, whatever you told her. If you told her you were going to a baby shower or going to a event, she remembered it. She remembered it. And she said, did you have fun at that so and so and so? And I'm thinking to myself, why are you keeping up with other people's lives? You know, what about your life? But those are the people, y'all, you gotta watch, because they so invested in somebody else's life, and you know, they need to be concerned about what they got going on. But I do know this, and I don't mean in a bad way, it's in a prayerful way. She was, you know, sort of miserable, and she didn't really like how her life was. So I feel like she, you know, she lived through other people, you know, that was her thing. She lived through other people's lives, and she always had, that's why and I sort of felt some type of way for her, because she was a very, very nice lady, you know, at times she could be sweet lady and stuff, but she was just always worried about what somebody else was doing. And she would often voice that, you know, about her life and how she felt about her own life and stuff. And the Lord allowed me, not bragging, giving honor, praise, and glory to Him, but He allowed me to pray with her, you know. But you know, people like I said, people like that, you just have to give them to the Lord, pray for them, and keep it moving. Because my late husband used to tell me all the time, he said, you know, some people, they like the way they like how things are, you know. They say they don't, but they actually do. And they don't want to change, you know. Like I said, I've said that so many times on this channel. People say they want change, but they don't want to do what it takes to change. And it's because it's a process. You know, that change involves, you got to quit drinking. You know, that change involves, you got to quit sleeping around. You got to quit committing adultery. You know, they don't want to stop doing what they're doing for God to do what He needs to do. And, you know, we all guilty of that. You know, you don't want to stop doing that. You don't want to stop lying. You don't want to have to stop stealing, because that means you gotta. It's a complete overhaul. Is what it is. So that's allowing the Lord just to take over, which that's what we should be doing anyway. But I'm saying, you know, He gives us free will. So we gotta first want it. You know, He ain't gonna make us do nothing. We gotta want what He wants for our lives. So y'all, I'm gonna go in here. I'm seeking out and find me something. I love going in the store because Ross, so I can find me something to wear to church tomorrow, because it's, you know, the dresses are very reasonable. I'm not gonna say they're cheap. I'm gonna put it like that, because they're always under $20. So that's the kind the kind of price I like. So I'm not gonna pay no $30, $40 for something. I can get it a whole lot cheaper. So I'll be back, y'all. Hello everyone, I'm back. We stopped and got some Chick-fil-A, and it never disappoints, of course. But I only get from there, since I don't eat chicken anymore, I always just get a fry, a sweet tea, and some ice cream, and that fills me up pretty good. The ice cream is always so good. But when in Ross, I was able to find me a pretty reasonable dress, and God always allows me to find a nice dress. And I didn't go in there last Sunday because I ended up wearing what I already had, which I have plenty of clothes, but I just always like to do that for myself. But anyway, met this nice gentleman in there, and he was actually a security guard in the store. And y'all, when I tell you, when you ask the Lord to bless you and allow someone to bless you, and then allow you to bless somebody, he'll do just that. But he's looking for willing and ready hearts, not just going through life just worried about yourself, concerned about yourself. But anyway, I won't go in detail, but he was just telling me, how he's been having a hard time, and I told him I was going to continue to pray for him, and I told him that the Lord's going to make a way for him, and he is. I believe it. And he said, oh, he just nodded his head. But he said he's been, I think he said last week or something, he said he just seemed like it was one seemed like one bad thing after another. But what I'm learning, y'all, about what we call bad, or what we call, not so good situation, it's actually when God is making us better. He's strengthening us. He's clearing the way for us, and to us, because we don't like going through stuff. So we're looking at it, why am I having to go through this? Why is this such a hard time? Or why? But it's not a hard time. It's a learning time. And he wants to see, he's watching us. We know we can trust him, but he's seeking he trusts us. And we got to get into that place where we say, okay, count it our joy. No matter what we go through, God is right there. He's already there before we even get in that situation. But he's looking for us to be, to look to him in that situation. And again, I just think back, I'm talking about myself. Me and my big children, we were going through all that stuff last year, which was all because I was making bad choices. But nevertheless, we had to go through that. We had to deal with stuff that we were, we just had to. But it was a learning situation. And I can say, well, it was a bad time for us, or it was a, not so good time, but it was learning. And I bet I'll never do it again. I'll never make a bad decision like that again. But in our learning, like I said, God is still there with us. And I look at things differently now, even though it ain't fun going through none of that, but Jesus had to go through way much more than what we're going through, so, I don't know why we feel like we don't have to go through stuff, but we feel like, can I just bypass that? But that's not how that works. It's all part of life. And even death, all of that. I look at death totally different now. When you've been around somebody out, for a long time, me and my late husband married 21 years, and you see them pass away in your face, and it's like, you appreciate life. I'm not mad at God. I'm not angry. But what I learned from that situation, to be thankful in the moment, to live in the moment, to appreciate the moments, that we have with our loved ones. And, it ain't about what we want. It's about allowing God to do for us, to make a way for us, and to do what only he can for us. That's what it's about. So yeah, I try to encourage other people, because a lot of people, like I said, they look at death as sad, and oh, I don't know how I'm gonna get through this. Well, you're gonna get through it, but you gotta want to get through it. You know, you can't go through your life as though you're dead. You gotta keep living. Yeah. But I'm thankful. I really am. But when I meet people like that, you know, in these stores and stuff, I love it because it's worth more than gold, because we all are going through stuff, and it's time out, like I said, for us being selfish and just, you know, concerned about our own well-being. We need to be concerned about somebody else. And you got to get in that place and say, Lord, I know you're going to take care of my situation. Take care. I want you to bless them, though, you know. And you saying that, God going to do it anyway, but you just basically asking him to you know, help them. You know, that's stating that you trust him. That's stating that you just lay it all down at his holy feet, and he gonna do it. And he did it before. He gonna do it again. But yeah, we gotta quit walking in disbelief, and I've been guilty of that myself. You know, God, he's a man that cannot lie. He will not lie. He cannot lie. And whatever he said he gonna do it. But we gotta believe. We gotta believe he gonna do it. But yeah, that gentleman, it looked like maybe he could have been older than me, I guess. I don't know, but he was really nice. But he was just, you know, he started off telling me, because I always like to ask people, you know, hey, are you having a good day? Or how, you know, because sometimes you just never know. Maybe he been working all day today. I don't know when the shift started, but maybe nobody even asked him how was he doing. That matters to me. I don't know if it does to anybody else, but I always, when I'm in the grocery store, I ain't been in the grocery store in a long time, but when I was checking out with my food, I always ask the cashier, how are you doing today? You having a good day? Just to let them know they matter, you know. People want to feel appreciated. Yeah. Oh, that ice cream is so good. I've been eating a custard, because I think custard is first time I had custard was when we moved here, and it's really good. At Culver's they sell it, and then quite a few places sell it. Freddy's, Burgers, forget the other part of their name, but they sell it, and that's where we ordered it from last night, my daughter. But it was pretty good. I mean, it's always good. It's so creamy, and I looked it up, and I think they say that it's a little healthier. It's more healthier than just ice cream. So I tried to buy frozen custard from like the grocery store, but it didn't taste that good to me. But in the restaurants, it tastes real good. So I think she ordered like a pint. That's a pretty good much of it. But I noticed the last time I purchased it from this time, it seemed like it's just super sweet, and I don't remember it being that sweet last time. I don't like eating things that taste like this. I'm just eating sugar, pure sugar. But it's good. It still was good. I ate me a little bowl of it last night. But yeah, we just with my youngest daughter, we out and about. It's trying to rain here. So then I'm gonna go to the Dollar Tree, and then I don't know if I'm an Instacart or not. I'm probably gonna end up doing that, because I just hate y'all. Honestly, I really don't like going in the grocery store anymore. I really don't. And it's $20 more when you order it online for they had to have them deliver it. But I think about too, that $20 is not really going to waste, because that's $20 and that's going to the person who's bringing it to you. So they need that money. That's money for, I don't know how the Instacart people divvy that up, but I know some of that money is going to them, so they gas or food or whatever. So it ain't going to waste. But yeah, I guess I'll do that and get a few items there, and then, but I'm gonna definitely go to the Dollar Tree, and then I was gonna get this car oil change, but my son said he was gonna do that for me next week. So had quite a few things I was gonna do today, but now the list has gone down, y'all, on what I was gonna do, because I didn't know it was gonna rain today. But a lady who I was talking to, I don't really look at the weather like I used to, because you know, I think when we first moved here, I was always checking the weather, but I don't really look at it no more. But it was a patient I was talking to yesterday, and she was saying, she said, yeah, enjoy this weekend, it's gonna be so nice. And I was like, oh, so I don't know if the rain was not forecasted or what, but it don't never bother me if it rain or sunshine or rain. I don't care, because it's all God's work. So, but I know some people that bothers them, you know, when the rain, it messes with their mood when it rains. But to me, rain is peaceful, you know, and we need rain to make things grow, you know. So, but you know, I know I used to work with people in Tennessee where when it would rain, they would be all out of sorts, and I don't know if they were dealing with, put that back there, I don't know if they were dealing with depression or what, but, and I'm not making light of that, but I know you know, that's what they dealt with, and they would make it known, you know, whenever it well, you would know it. They wouldn't have to say anything. You would know it. We would know it, because they would be grumpy, grouchy, or whatever. And I used to tell my late husband, I said, that must really, because, like, you know, when I was riding into work, and if it was raining or it was about, you know, starting to sprinkle or whatever, and I said, oh, you know, it's gonna be it's gonna be a quiet day today, you know, because literally, this one person, one lady, she would not hardly even talk, you know, when if it was storming real bad outside, because she wouldn't even, she would be so quiet, you know, that day. And she would just be real quiet that whole work day, depending upon if it rained a little, if it rained that whole day while we were at work. And I'd be like, wow, it really. But then if it didn't rain, you know, she'd be just talking, happy, and just so joyful. But yeah, it really did affect her. It affected her mood. But yeah, it don't matter to me whether it rain or whatever it do. Like I said, I'm not making light of that, because I know people deal with different things, but it's not like that for me. I actually like it when it rains, because like I said, it cools things off. And I was trying to get me a parking spot by the door, y'all. I like getting by the door. It cools things off, and then it also, I never noticed this, it's a cemetery next to the Chick-fil-A. I never noticed that. That's interesting. But yeah, it cools things off, and then you know, it's just what it's his work. But I don't know why people, a lot of things, I know we go through, we invite them upon ourselves, and then we go back and forth to the doctor, and I'm learning to speak over myself, speak over my life. You know, I believe the report of the Lord. You know, I'm not claiming nothing no doctor tell me, because they got to answer to the same Almighty God in heaven I answer to. But we have to learn how to do that, indeed do that. Speak over ourselves. Quit allowing whatever somebody say to us. That's how it's gonna be. We got to quit being like that, and just say, you know what, I don't receive that. It's not what God is going. God gonna work this out for me. But I know some people, if they don't know Jesus, they don't know how to do that. But that's why it's so important to get to know him, so you can do that. So I got me one, y'all. I got by the Dollar Tree. I always try to get a space by the door. I don't like parking in that other section. I'm getting right by the door. So I'm gonna run in here in the Dollar Tree and just get a few things, and I'll be back. there today. I'm noticing when I go in there, usually I go in there around this time. I think it's probably around 2 or so. I don't know what time it is here, but I'm noticing it just depends on what time I go in there. But yeah, today it's pretty crowded today. But they always get you in and out pretty quick. That's what I like about it, going in there. And I think I only spent like $30 this time, so I did good this time. I always try to, when I'm putting stuff in the cart, try to mentally calculate everything, because some of that stuff is $1, but then a lot of it is $3. And I was gonna get the frozen fruit, but I think I have enough. Whenever I take a notion and make a smoothie, I have enough. I just need to get some milk. That's what makes it taste so good. But a young lady that was checking me out, she was real nice. She noticed I was buying the toys for the puppy. I was telling her, I said, I don't know why I continue to buy him these toys, because he tears them up literally in seconds. So she laughed. I said, that's just what he does. But I'm learning, we're first time dog owners. I'm learning that's what all the puppies do, or dogs do, cats do. I'm like, can it last for a little while? But he literally that's his goal, to rip it up in a few seconds. He always succeeds in doing that. But yeah, we're just out and about. It looks like it stopped raining or sprinkling, so I guess I don't know if it's passing over us or what, but I'm gonna try to go to the I need to find a HDMI cord, and because I don't honestly, y'all, I don't know what happened to the one I purchased. That's been some weeks ago. I don't know what happened to that cord. I don't know if I accidentally threw it away or if it's still in my bedroom somewhere. I just can't find it. But I was gonna get one of those because I purchased a DVD player, and I have a bunch of movies I really want to watch on there. So my son was like, "Mama, I help you, but you gotta have that cord." So he was gonna help me hook it up, but sometimes I just don't like watching. I get tired of watching some of the YouTube movies, and I just like watching some of because the movies that I purchased, they're all from they're like from the 90s, early 2000s, but they're old movies. I think I got The Passion, about Jesus. Then I got Remember the Titans. I can't remember that other movie I got. I got Toy Story 3. I really like Toy Story 3, but I have that on Disney. But it's quite a few that I have. I think I have about 11 or so. I got Taken. I really like that movie with Liam Neeson. I like that movie. So yeah, it's a few choice movies that I like. I don't like movies that got a lot of violence and sex in them. I try to avoid those. But yeah, these are mostly older movies. But yeah, I'm like, why did I even purchase that? It's a nice DVD player, but I'm like, it's just on my TV stand, and I haven't been able to use it because I didn't have the HDMI cord. So I'm gonna try to get that here from the store, and then I may stop at the Goodwill. I just like going in there because they always have some cute stuff sometimes, like to go in your house. So I like going in there, looking around, and just to see what they have. I haven't been in there in a couple of weekends. But that's about it, I guess. I said a lot of times it's a lot less expensive to get things, just go ahead and get them in person versus trying to, because Dollar Tree, they have they're on Instacart, and then there's a lot of stores on Instacart, but I noticed, as I said previously stated, Dollar Tree, even though they're super cheap, I've been noticing they're what is it? It seems like they get overbad when they deliver the items to you. Like if it costs $20 for the whole, all the items, it seems like it's like $50 to get it to you. And I'm like, why is it almost over double? I don't understand that. So I don't know if it's just because their stuff is so cheap and they adding in extra taxes trying to, supplement for that. I don't know, but I noticed that because I was gonna do a order from them a couple of weekends ago, and I was like, why is this double? What, because it was like what I was getting was, I don't even think it was $20. No, I know it had to be $10. I think that's the minimum. You have to do that. But then my order was not that much, and when it was time to check out, it was like it was double that. I think I noticed that, and I was like, nope, I just go get it in person. So that's what I did. But again, everybody is trying to make money and get over. So that's what the world is doing right now, because they're hurting for money. These stores, a lot of these people. That's why it's so many people in these Goodwills and thrift stores, which I've been shopping in them. I ain't never been ashamed, but that's why people frequent them so often now, more than ever, because they figured out, I can get stuff a whole lot cheaper. They figured out I can get stuff a whole lot cheaper than what I paid in a mall or something. And the only reason I go to Ross, like I stated, is because they're I go in there to get that, me something to wear to church, but the dress is usually no more than $20. It's always under usually, but I'm not paying a whole lot of money when I can get things a whole lot cheaper somewhere else. And Goodwill, at one time they were, I once could go in there and find me something real nice. The Ark, I've never been able to find me, like a dress or anything, not to wear to church, but I'd rather just pay, buy something new if I'm gonna go wear it to church. But otherwise, I get my blouses and things like that out of there. I'll do that. I can wear to work or something, but yeah, people, as when I was talking to that man, people are really struggling and trying to make it. And I was telling him, I said, a lot of times when people telling you about they're having a hard time, and somebody will say, oh yeah, I know what you're going through, and I was letting him know, no sir, we've been on the other side, so I know what you're talking. I know exactly where you're coming from. So I just wanted to let him know I understood. I really did understand. So again, like I said, I'm just praying that the Lord will open the door for him and make a way for him, because it's terrible. But I don't know if he has if he married, or I didn't ask him any of that. I just said the Lord will make a way for you and your family. So, and he will. We just gotta trust him. But yeah, a lot of people are suffering in silence because they don't have nobody to talk to, and they're around people who very well could help them, but they going through everybody's going through stuff. Everybody dealing with their own stuff, so nobody's reaching out to help nobody, and that's not how God intends for it to be. And I would not dare go to worship service every Sunday. And there's a song, I think her name is Dottie Peoples, I think. I'm not promoting her or her ministry, but she got a song that it says, an old song, it says I don't have a closet religion. And that's how I am. I don't believe in a God, holy one that I can't express, or I can't talk about, or I can't share him at work or wherever I go. I don't. He's just been too good to me, and then to everybody. Everybody got to know about it. But that man, I believe he's a believer, because he mentioned right away when I mentioned the name Jesus, he agreed, and then he added some. I forget what he said about Jesus, but it was good. So he's a believer, from what I could understand. So, like I said, I told him he'll make a way for you. But like I said, sometimes we just have to, not making light of nobody's situation, but sometimes we just have to go through things, because that equips us and it makes us better. We can't always have things easy, and it takes that hard situation or that hard time for us to, when God brings us out, then okay, we're not whatever we had to deal with or go through in that situation, that hard time, we're gonna be stronger. And the next time around, when we have to go through something maybe even worse than that, we're gonna be patient. We're gonna be stronger, stronger than we were before. So, God is He's building our character, and that's what He's been revealing to me. We just have to go through stuff. But I'm guilty myself. I'm like, Lord, I just want it to be easy sometimes. Because I remember when we stayed with the lady from church, I used to say that all the time to her, and she would always knock me down. Well, not physically, but she'd knock me down with her words. She'd say, yeah, I said, sometimes you gotta wait, years before things come to pass. And I said, yeah, that's true. But not always, not all the time. Because, God is a suddenly God. And He can turn situations around it's in a heartbeat. So, even sooner than that. But we got to believe. But yeah, she used to always say that. And I'm like, huh. Because, when we was living with her, but I was ready to move out. But I'm thinking, I don't want to hear that, But she was telling me the truth. But it seemed like when I said that to her, because she was going through some financial situation, she didn't want to receive it when I said it back to her. But she would always say it to me. Yeah, sometimes you gotta, that's what she would say. Sometimes you just gotta wait. God, He don't answer right away sometimes. And I say, yeah, you're exactly right. He don't. But when He do, He right on time. He ain't never late. But I noticed with her, some people are really good at giving out advice and giving out all this encouragement and this, that, and the other, and quoting the Bible. But when they come back around and it got to be applied to their life, they don't want to, not saying they don't want to hear it, but they don't want, you got to come from a certain person. And that's not how God works either. He can speak through anybody. Speak through a little child. So it ain't even about that. But I know some people that are like that. Unless God's word come through certain people, they don't receive it. So I guess they deem in that person, they don't really know what they talking about. But God will get the glory. He will, in every situation. He's gonna get it, whether you want Him to get it or not. But yeah, a lot of things with her. She was a nice lady and everything. But I noticed with her, like I said, it was just a lot of different things that we had to deal with her, and it seemed like mood swings and things like that. And I know she was going through stuff too, in her personal life. But I remember there were so many times that I would be wanting to just talk, and I remember, it ain't funny, it's funny now, I can laugh about it now because we're no longer there. But I literally, because this one, my children had went back to Tennessee, but I was talking to her, we were talking, downstairs, and then I was just trying to talk to her, I was asking, because I always wanted to make sure I was good, me and my I was, you know, it was okay, but for me to still stay there, and I was trying to not kissing up to her or nothing, but I was paying her, but I wanted to just make sure, you know, let's talk to her. But she, this one particular day when I was talking to her, she was going up to her room because she went to bed early, and she would go to her. I followed her. I followed her to her room because her room was before you got to the upstairs part. So I was, you know, I was talking to her. We were talking to her because she was telling me about something about her children or something. And so I was like, yeah, you know, and then I was asking her, I said, are you still okay with me staying here? You know, this, that, and the other. And y'all, she closed the door in my face. And I was like, what? Because didn't slam it, but it was just almost like, you know, okay, I'm done talking, you know. But my point in sharing that is that people, like I said, you find out how people really are when you share space with them, when you live under their roof. You know, you find out how they really are. And it seemed like, and I'm not talking bad about her now, I'm telling the truth. Seemed like she was a whole different person from when I met her initially than, you know, when we started living with her. You know, it was just a 360. Like she was just a totally different person. And she still was nice and everything, but there were so many times that I was like, Lord, you know, was this really your doing? Because, you know, people just switch up on you so quick, and when they feel like they got not rude, but when they feel like they helping you and they don't boost you, we were helping each other. You know, it wasn't like I was living there for free. I was paying her, but at the same time, you know, it was like, you know, since I gotta keeping a roof over your head, you know, you just gotta go along with whatever I do. And like I said, there was a lot of times which we had some good talks. We talked quite a few times about the Lord, and she was a widow as well. So we had a few things that were in common, but she was just older than I was. And but like I said, I quickly realized when you live with somebody, like I said, you find out how they really are. And she never, you know, and that's why how I was raised, I started, you know, just buying my own. When the children were there, I was just making sure they were good, buying food. You know, I started buying our own food and toiletries and stuff like that, because I was like, you know, I don't want nobody to think I'm leeching off of them or nothing like that. And I was just raised that way. She was like, yeah, you first moved in, whatever I have, you know, it's yours, this, that, and the other. But then I noticed once we moved in, it was a toilet tissue incident. And so she had, and it wasn't because I didn't have money to buy it. It was because plane coming in. It wasn't that I didn't have money to buy it. It was that we had just come from the hotel before we moved in with her, and a lot of that stuff we had used up, and I just hadn't had a chance to buy it. You know, to buy more of it, replenish it. So I quickly, when I got paid, I quickly said, okay, you know, we're gonna have our own stuff, we're gonna have our own everything. And that's what I did. Y'all. I made sure we had our own food, and I, you know, of course I put it in the fridge and whatever cabinets, but you know, and then I was looking a lot of days, I was like, ooh, this her house, but I got more in here than what she got in here. And not bragging, but you know, that's how it looked, because I was buying stuff just about every time I got paid, and just so we'll have like snacks and, you know, water or whatever. And then when it was just me there, after they left for that month, it was just me. And so, you know, I DoorDashed a lot, because I was like, I don't really feel like cooking, and it's just me. And then I bought me a lot of snack stuff. But she yeah, you find out how people really are. And so another lady that I talked to at church, she was telling me about me and her were laughing. She said she had a similar situation. I think she had lived with a lady, and she said, it was horrible. And I said, no, I know what you're talking about. I said, because You find out how people really are when you live with them. And she said, yep, that's right. And I said, not taking away from anything, because she helped us and all that, but y'all, that was a hard 3 months for me. And I was waking up every day like, Lord, please help us out this situation. And but she did say to me, we were talking in the kitchen one day, and she said she said, the more I think about this, the lady who introduced us and who gave me her number to call and all that, who kind of set it up or whatever. Y'all, sorry about that. Who set up everything for us to meet. She said she believed that was not the work of God. So I told her, I said, well, it's neither here nor there. I said, we live here now. It's already happening. I said, even if it wasn't meant to be, God made it to be. So, but yeah, she started, like I said, because I was like, it started out so good and everything, and then she started saying, I don't know if I should, I think I should go back to living by myself, and I'm like, what? what? How we get here? I thought you needed somebody to help you with your mortgage, and so it was crazy, y'all. It was crazy, and I was just trying, and then I'm dealing with all that, and I'm trying to go to work. I'm still trying to work and just get through. My job ain't not an easy job, but I love it. It's helping people, but it's scheduling, and you got to remember so much stuff. So I'm trying to, go to work. That sort of was my peace at work, and then I go back, home to her house, and that's when I would be so full of, high. It'd be so high and full of energy. Talking about energy, that's why I say high, but just so, ready and engaged. And then soon as that's when I was on the 3:30 shift. Soon as 3:30 came, I was like, I gotta go back to her house. And not being ungrateful, but I just dreaded it. I did, because it wasn't our own place. It wasn't my own place. And so it seemed like it just, I got to right by the door, y'all. Look at God. I just didn't like that, because it would hit home when it was time to get off work, like, I got to deal with this again. Another night of this, But like I said, we were upstairs, so it was almost like we had our own place, I guess, if you want to say suite or whatever. But her house was big, it was a nice house, but just needed work on it. But I didn't care. I was just happy that we had a roof over our head. And when we moved in, it was still kind of warm here. So we stayed there. We stayed there before it got, no, we stayed there. It was snowed while we were there. But we moved out. We ended up moving out a week. I think it was 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, I think, or something like that. I know it was in November. And y'all, that was the happiest day of my life. That day goes, I'm going to show a video about that. That day goes with the day that we were in Tennessee. And came home that day, and the next door neighbors that had got on our nerves so bad, doing all that weird stuff next to us, when I saw the U-Haul truck, and I said, thank you, Lord. And they moved, because I don't know what kind of neighbors they were, but they were something else. That's all I can say, and I'm being nice about that. But I'm gonna go in here, y'all. I'll check back in. Hello, I'm back. Some hours, maybe an hour or so later, I was able to go into the thrift store. And before I went in there, I met the nicest lady, y'all. She had a little, I forget what type of dog she said. The dog was like 3 different breeds or something. I forgot type of dog. I can't remember what she said. But anyway, it's a tiny dog. But she stated that she I don't think it was a rescue pup, but she was just saying that I think she had just recently purchased it. But she was just the cutest little doggy, and she was saying how the dog was so independent, even though you just the dog wanted to just do its own thing. And she said I could, because it was it was small enough where she could carry it. But she said she didn't want to do that because she said she wanted to allow that dog to have its independence. So she said she had a husky at home, and I said, wow. And she said they get along really good. But me and her talked for, I don't know, for just maybe a few minutes before I went into the thrift store. She was super nice. She said she moved here from Connecticut, I believe she said, the state, and she's been here, I think she's been here for a little while. But and I asked her, I said, do you ever go back home? She said, no, not really. She said she liked it here too. And I said, okay. So I told her me and my children, we moved here from Tennessee. But she was super nice. And she, because how the conversation started, I was saying how cute her dog was. And so it kind of went from there. But yeah, she was really nice. Look, she's maybe in her, I don't know, maybe in her 60s or so. But she was a nice lady. So we just stood right there in the parking lot talking. And so she's the second person the Lord has allowed me to talk to and everything today while I've been out and about. And I love doing that because that's how you get to know, people and stuff. But I was telling her, me and her were talking, and I was telling her how, because she was saying, I think she was trying to tell me in so many words how she was raised to, not like certain people or certain races of people. And I told her, I was like, yeah, I sort of was raised like that too, but it just never, I never allowed that to be in my, be a part of me. And so she said, yeah, me too. And so we were just talking about that. And then she, it was just really nice lady. But I kept complimenting her on her dog because the dog was just, she said she's very friendly. And I could tell that right off because the dog just ran up to me, and which most dogs do that. They'll kind of sniff around you or whatever, your legs or your shoes or whatever. But I could tell the dog was real friendly. But yeah, I think she said she only had the dog maybe, and then she said she got her last week. I think it was a girl. So got her last week. But that dog had the prettiest eyes, almost hazel brown eyes. Just a beautiful dog. But I asked her, I said, is that the biggest that she's gonna get? And she said, yeah. She was tiny. She said, yeah, this is the biggest she's gonna get. But yeah, while we were talking, she was just standing there looking around. But yeah, I always end up meeting some nice people. But I went in the thrift store, and I was able to find a nice young man named Jeremy. He helped me find a HDMI cord. And he said he said because they usually have at the thrift store, they have a half off. So it's certain colors that they'll do the half off on. And so he told me, because he was so determined. You know how some people, when you ask them to help you find something, if they can't find it right away, they just get distracted and they go on about their business, which I didn't expect him to. I mean, he didn't, have to continue to look for it, but, he worked there, so that's service to the customer. But I wasn't going, because I sort of kept, looking over there at him, because he left from the area we were in, looking for the cord where all the cords were. And then he went back to the area where he works at. I was watching him, but I sort of kept, because I was like, well, if he don't, I sort of stayed in that area, and I was thinking to myself, well, if he don't, if I don't see him, looking like he's, not look, if I see him that he's not looking for it anymore, I won't bother him. And so I sort of, like I said, I sort of just kept the eye. But he was hunting for that cord, and he found one, because he told me, he said, I know we got a bunch of these, and he said, I don't understand why it's not that many, why I'm not able to locate one. And I saw him, he finally found one. Because I heard him when he told his coworker, he said, I found one. And so it's like he was happy, like it was for himself. But I told him I really appreciate it, and he gave me a super low price on it, because he said normally they're like $10 or something, but the price he put on there was like $3 or something, because they can tag them for whatever they want. But it's a really nice cord. It's almost like it's almost new. But I thanked him for that because I said, thank you for helping me, young man. And well, he was really nice. But like I said, I kept my eye on him because a lot of times people, you know, they get distracted. And there was another guy in there. I was looking at the chairs and recliners, and he was adamant about helping me too. But I told him I was just looking at the chairs, and he's like, yeah. And he pointed to the chairs that were over in another area. But I was just looking. And but I noticed with their furniture, them and now Goodwill, they price theirs pretty low. Their chairs and, you know, like furniture, but it's reasonable. But I noticed with that thrift store, you might as well go to a furniture store because, and some of that stuff is, those couches are worn out and they're not clean. You know, you're gonna have to get them cleaned and stuff once you get it in your house. But the prices, it was one couch that was really nice, but it was like $80, and I'm like, I might as well get a brand new one. I mean, really? It was like it was just worn out. So I mean, it was nice, but you could tell, you know, it should have been not that much. It should have been like maybe $30 or something. But yeah, they priced some of that stuff just way too high. It's not worth that because it's been gently, some of it, instead of being gently used, is worn out. And but they, you know, of course they're open to make money, so you know they pricing it however much they think. And then a lot of times I think the people I think they sort of look at whatever type of, you know, furniture it is, and they say, well, you know, we're gonna put this price on it, which is fair, I guess. But something that's worn out, you know, and you're a thrift store, shouldn't be pricing it that high. But yeah, I like the Goodwill because I've actually purchased furniture out of there, or outdoor furniture, and for really good, really super good deals. So I'm not paying a lot of money for something I know I can get a lot less. So that's why I always like looking. So yeah, he was like, let me know if I can help you, the other guy. And I said, yeah, I will. But the German guy, he was over there when I was looking for that HDMI cord, so he ended up helping me because they work in the same department. But I haven't been in there. I haven't been in that thrift store for a little minute. So there's been probably 2 weeks since I've been in there. So I always like going in there. Sometimes I don't particularly like really buying anything. I just like looking. Because you come across some neat little stuff. But then most of the time I end up buying something. Like I went in there for getting ready to go back, go with my daughter back to college. I'm gonna help her get back in her dorm, so that'll be next month. But I was looking for a carry-on bag, luggage bag, small one, and that's what I primarily went in there for. And I still didn't go over in that section, but I still got time to get one. That's the whole reason I went in there today, Goodwill. But for that, I think I'm gonna get that from the thrift store because it'll be a lot nicer and cheaper. Because theirs were pretty nice, the ones they have. So I'll probably do that next weekend because I'm not fooling with that anymore today. So yeah, just thought I would take you all with me today. I did everything I set out to do. I don't do a whole lot on Saturdays, but because truth be told, I just like resting on this day because my job is a desk job, but it's just a lot of thinking. My late husband and I understand what he used to say because that's what he did on his job, and he was like, "Don't ask me nothing," because you know when we'd get off work, we'd just be asking him a lot of questions and saying this, saying that, you know. What you want to eat? You know, I get it now. I get all that stuff he used to say because I'm like, it's too much. But I'm thankful for my job. And I love, what I do. But it's very analytical, and you got to remember stuff and know what to do, when to do it, how to do it. But I love it because it deals with people. And that's what I really like about it. But sometimes you just want to, it's good for the weekend to be, so you can have a rest from it. But I said I wasn't going to probably do any more overtime because, y'all remember I talked about that a while back, and I did all that overtime, it was first of this year, and that wore me out. It absolutely wore me out because I was just, it was just too much because I was working from 8 and sometimes 7 in the morning to 6 or 7 o'clock, and sometimes one night I think I worked almost 8 o'clock, and I was tired. So yeah, I'm just gonna ask the Lord to bless my finances like he always do, because a lot of times when you work over, they tax even more. And I mean, it's good, it's extra money, but I'd rather have my rest. So I'm gonna go ahead and Walgreens, y'all, and we'll probably head on home. I gotta get some food in the house, and this Saturday is slow as it takes to come. It's like this day just goes by so fast. I don't know what that is, but it goes by super fast. But I guess because I get going pretty late, I guess that's probably why. So I hope you all are having a beautiful, blessed day in the mighty name of Jesus. Thank you all for joining me today, and I pray blessings over your life. Bye-bye.